people know Will Dickey? Yeah. Woo. Okay. So how do I make this play? If you were me. Oh, down here. Okay, hold on. Whoop.
Oh.
There we go. Okay, there he is in a photo and there he is in real life. So folks, this is Will Dickey. And I asked Will to be our speaker. Y'all can hear me, right? Yeah, I asked Will to be our speaker like over a year ago, I think, right, Will?
A year and a half or 2 years ago, I think.
And I
It was
said,
a long time.
because he has spoken to us before, but it has been quite some time, and he is an amazing photographer. And you know, the aforementioned visit to the doctor, I'm wandering around Baptist looking at, they bought a whole, if you go to a Baptist facility, look on the wall. If it's a beautiful landscape, this man right here took that image for you.
Maybe.
Probably. So anyway, he is an amazing person, and we thank you, Will, for coming to speak to us.
Well,
and here you can have your cable. There you go. And I'll
thank y'all for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Y'all got a good group here.
Yes, we do.
So let me see if I can get my camera hooked up here somehow. Or computer, actually.
There we go. Thank you.
Chris.
Hey, Chris, I'm Liz.
Nice to meet you.
Take it off.
Okay. All right, don't look at that. Not ready yet. Just close your eyes, and I'll tell you when you can open your eyes. Okay, open your eyes.
Well, we got to turn your lights off, right?
Well, you can't. Yeah, you can turn them down some.
You're doing it how? Thank you. Tell me what. Keep going on. Susan said do that one. All three of those down. All three? All three of those down.
There we go.
But we got to be able to see Will, though.
No, you don't. You don't need to see me. You can hear me, right? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So how many of you know or have ever heard of F8 and Be There? Okay, it's an old photojournalism saying. The old cameras, they would always carry a flash on them. So if you were like this distance, F8, the flash, boom, you got it. No problem. So this was the very first news picture I ever photographed. I was a senior at Auburn, and the downtown blew up. And a good friend of mine who was on his way to church watched it go up, and he called me. He said, Will, get your camera. Downtown Auburn just blew up. And my apartment was a mile away, and it rolled me out of bed. The explosion was so loud, it just shook the ground. So I got there, and there was one cop in the road. And it was obviously, I got there really early, and it's just like F8 and Be There, you know? So, but it was a big story, and they're doing an anniversary book, and so I got to meet the cop that's in the picture finally after all these years, and we had a great time. So, okay, this is some of the work from the Times-Union. This is the Hendricks Avenue Baptist Church when it burned. And they had church services outside the next Sunday. And these are just some people looking at the church. This is a prescribed burn that they do quite often in the woods. They like to burn off the undergrowth so it protects the forest from a wildfire. And this is a real fire. This is a wildfire up in Georgia around Folkestone. And this year, I can't remember the exact year, but it seemed like almost the whole southern part of Georgia was on fire. And I was going up there every day. Hurricane Irma, some folks that got stranded, caught a ride with a truck. This is Black Creek. Black Creek floods every time you get a lot of rain down south. And these people, I don't think when I got the ride in this boat, I don't think they expected the camera to be pointing their way. But I'm glad I caught the reaction of the lady. Yeah, this is the most famous water spout ever. Every single photographer at the Times Union was photographing this. Now, did Bob Self show this picture? You remember? No? I was in the parking lot of the Times Union when I photographed this. And we had people on the Acosta Bridge and in Riverside. Quite exciting. Oh, and let me tell you, you guys, if you have questions, just belt them out. Just ask me while we've got the pictures on. I kind of like to make this a conversation. So please feel free to just, yes, ma'am.
That picture you showed of the people in the boat, did you have to get their permission? I'm very new to this.
Yeah, I got their names. I got their names, and they were good with it. If we don't do permission documentation or anything, because if I get somebody's name and I tell them I'm with the Times Union, it's kind of, yeah, I think I'm covered with that. So, all right, no name required there. So this was some hostages that were taken hostage by a guy that was trying to rob a credit union on the north side. And this is when they let all of the hostages go. And fortunately, nobody killed, nobody injured. Yeah, yeah. Well, they were. This is a funeral. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you really don't like to do, working for a newspaper, but you have to. This is the funeral of a Putnam County deputy. And I was able to get up on some steps and just get the right place. And I don't think anybody noticed I was there. This was around 1990, I think. This was the first Gulf War. And it was the first time I could remember National Guardsmen being sent overseas, because they used to just not do that. And I think this guy here never expected to be going overseas. And his oldest son obviously knows what's going on. The youngest son doesn't. And I love the hand that the young son is putting on his brother's head. And the guardsman is just trying not to break down too much. But that was a pretty powerful moment there. This is a homecoming. Homecomings are great. I love homecomings. And this was during COVID. It was a helicopter squadron coming back. This is the commander of the squadron at NAS Jax.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
so are you using FA for most of your street photography?
No. No, that's in the old days. I just use whatever I think is best. If I want to throw the background out of focus, I'll shoot wide open. Or now this is probably F8 or so, F11. This is the great oak at Episcopal High School that was dying and limbs were falling, and it was a danger to the students. And so this is the day that they were taking the tree down. And this group of kids, soccer players, came up to watch it. And I just kind of laid back, and I did not ask them to do that. That's against the rules. But I just kind of stayed back and watched what they did, and they did that, and I went, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. It made for a really nice picture. This is aftermath of Hurricane Ivan in the Pensacola area. This is a place called Pea Ridge, and it was a Baptist church, and this is a family that were members, and I had to kind of shove the reporter out of the way because, she's like right up in there. I said, get back. So you also got to deal with your own people, sometimes. This was a candlelight ceremony for the victims of the El Faro ship. That now I mean, the woman on the right, it was her husband, and this is her daughter, and her dad was missing. They had not confirmed yet that the ship had gone down. But this is also an example of what happens when they have a candlelight service too early. You don't even notice it, but it was very emotional. This is a candlelight ceremony at the right time of day. This is the Sikh Society of Jacksonville, and this was after a mass shooting at one of their places of worship in, I think, Wisconsin. But they were very nice, very, very kind people. This is an Afghanistan soldier coming back. This is his parents here on the right. Another thing that's not so much fun to shoot, but we have to tell the story. That's our job, is to tell the story of what's going on, and sometimes you have to see things like this that you'd rather not see. This is the trucker who drove the truck. He took the turn a little too fast at, I think, Edgewood, maybe Kings Road or something. But he had 1,700 cases of frozen shrimp. So, yeah, I don't know if they were able to salvage any or not. This is Walter Mondale campaigning for president back in the 80s, I think, in Jacksonville. He's eating at a barbecue restaurant. And this is what you get when you actually eat, when you're campaigning. You get your picture made chowing down on a rib. This was at our Super Bowl that we had in 2005. Clinton and Bush, and that's Mrs. Bush there. But they were together, teamed up to try to raise money for tsunami relief at that time. So they were traveling around together and raising money. This is Marco Rubio. Before he was a senator, he was running for senator, and he came to talk to our editorial board back when the Times-Union had such a thing. And I was in there photographing, and he did that one time and looked up at me. I got one picture, and then he stopped doing it. So, but I like that. I don't think he liked it. Obama had come to NAS Jax, and for about 15 minutes, and then he left. But I'm pretty sure he was campaigning then too. Got his picture made a lot that day. This is the night Trump won. And this is the Trump supporters cheering. Late at night. And this is the boat rally. In this picture, I wanted to try to bring the boats up a little closer because a wide-angle lens, it spreads them out. It doesn't look like there's many boats. So I got on the other side of the bridge and got as high as I could and shot with a medium telephoto lens on that.
Is that Trump being promoted on the film? Is that where President Trump was being promoted at that time?
He was campaigning. He was campaigning in, I believe this was 2020. This was his second campaign. So, and the people in Jacksonville threw a birthday party for him or something. I don't know. But they had this huge boat parade.
Do you recall what your settings were?
What's that?
Do you recall more or less what your settings were?
I don't remember. I don't really remember settings, but probably a fairly, maybe F8, maybe 11. But, you don't have great depth of field with a telephoto lens. But I think there's enough that you get the idea there.
Check your exit.
Huh?
Photo mechanic, check your exit.
I could, yeah. But, yeah, I could tell you, but I can't now, though.
So, Will, how much of this photography is because
A lot of it. A lot of it. You have to be credentialed to get into a Trump rally. Now, not so much the bridge. The bridge thing, anybody could be on the bridge. So there's certain things that everybody has access to, but this is from one of those Trump rallies at Cecil Commerce Center, and so to get in there, you had to be credentialed. And that was during COVID, you know, so.
So is there any opportunity for anybody like us to become credentialed?
To do what?
Is there any opportunity for just as amateur photographers to become credentialed to do this?
Well, I mean, you can bring cameras sometimes into events like that. My favorite camera now, which I did not have back then, is just a small Nikon mirrorless camera with a 24 to 120 zoom lens. And that's what I use most of the time now if I'm covering an event. I cover events all the time, and I carry one camera body and maybe have a wide angle lens or a telephoto lens and a fanny pack.
He was asking if there's a way to get credentials.
Oh, a way to get credentials? You pretty much have to be, to get credentials, you pretty much have to be with an organization that you're shooting for. Beaches Photography Club. Yeah, I don't know if that would work or not. But all they can do is say no, right? Okay, features pictures are a lot of fun. This was, now how did I get that? Was I hanging off the wing there? No, I actually mounted a camera on the wing of this ultralight, and I think somewhere you can see the wire. I think it's on that to the left, and he is actually pushing the button on the camera. Still my picture though. He can't take credit for that. He mashed the button, I set everything else up. This was an event, it was a cultural celebration event. I think these were the Black Sea Dancers from Orlando, and it was at the Times Union Center. But I decided to do a little slow motion and see what I got there. This was fun. This was the parade for the jazz festival. These ladies were having a blast. This is the Never Quit run, and sometimes you get lucky. But events like this can be a challenge, but you kind of get a feel for it and try to get an interesting picture out of it. Yeah, this is an instrument zoo that the symphony was holding, and his boy's not much of a fan here because Dad doesn't know how to play the trumpet. You can tell because he's holding it wrong. His right hand ought to be on the. I played trumpet for many years, so yeah. His son's right. It didn't sound too good. Further in the Covered Ears series here, the little girl in the background, you see her. This was a swim meet, and the moms were loud. They were certainly loud, but I love the little girl in the background there. And here we go again. Kids just can't stand those loud noises. This was at NAS Jax. It was one of the air shows a long time ago. This is probably 20 years ago or so. One of the first digital cameras we ever used. This is at UNF. This guy, I saw him, I was at UNF for some other assignment, and I saw this guy doing this. And so I went up to him and I said, "What are you doing?" And he says, "It's parkour." I said, "Par what?" He says, "Parkour. It's jumping from one place to another." And I said, "You ever break a leg or anything?" "Not yet." So he allowed me to photograph him, and it was pretty interesting. I never tried it. I don't think I will. I'd break something for sure. This was at the Jacksonville Fair, and this was with one of the first digital cameras we ever had, the Nikon D1X. Okay, and it was a good camera for daylight and all, but about ISO 800 is about as high as you could go. So what I did is this thing went round and round, okay? So I asked the operator if I could attach a flash to the seats ahead of these guys, which were empty. So I attached a flash and hooked a remote to the flash. And it's a great thing about digital. I love digital because you know if you're getting it or not. If this was film, I would have no idea until the film's done. But you can get real close, real quick with digital. And this picture would have not been very good at all without just that little pop-up flash. This is what happens when you try to get married during a tropical storm. This was Tropical Storm Faye, and I was in Fernandina covering it. And I got a phone call, oh, there's a couple getting married there on the beach. And I said, I'm on it. So the bride was having difficulty with her dress, and a little sister just jumped right in there and she is helping out, and everything was great. They got married, and nobody blew away. This is Sister Elise at, I can't remember the name of the school, but it's a Catholic school on the north side. And she was the headmaster of the school. And she's only slightly taller than the kids, which is pretty cool. She was about like that. But boy, the kids loved her. And I followed her around for a couple of hours, and it was great. All right, this is at the beach, opening of the beaches parade, and this is your beach rescue team here. So fortunately, there was nobody to rescue, and they could dance that day. Now this was a blessing. This was the first day of the Riverside Trolley in operation. And when I got on board, this guy in the gorilla mask got on board too. And I went, oh, please leave it on. Please leave it on. So I kind of stalked him, and I got around and sat across from him. And I love the expression of the guy on the right there. But I just used a little bounce flash, off the ceiling, and you can tell that's Memorial Park back there with the statue in the background. But he was going to work. He was going to work at Larry's Giant Subs. So, yeah. Now this is a guy named Tyler Southern. He was a corporal, got hurt by an IUD. That's him in the sidecar there. But he lost both of his legs, lost an arm, and mangled his good arm. And when he got home, he was escorted from the airport by these guys. And so I sat on an overpass for quite a long time with a thunderstorm getting closer and closer and lightning starting to pop around. But finally they came, and then the family allowed me to go to their home. And that's him greeting a kid that, the kid on the left, and I got this from my caption that I wrote, kid on the left used to have shoulder-length hair, but in honor of his friend, got it cut and had USMC shaved into the back of his head in honor of his friend. So This is a pound puppy. The pound was running out of room at this time. And so a few of the high-end pet vacation places took in these dogs, and this guy here was having a blast. And I don't know what to say about that. It was at I don't even remember the event, but it was down around Metropolitan Park. And the guy was just blowing fire like crazy. And this is what happens when you're not ready, when you don't have the camera up to your face. The dolphins posing for him. And this was down at Marineland. And cool expression on the dolphin there. You ever seen Gumby working at the ballpark? This was at the Suns. And I showed this picture to a group of fifth graders a few years ago. And one of the fifth graders, they have such intuitiveness that we don't have. That one guy said, "Oh, that's a girl." And I went, "It is a girl. I never even noticed it before, but it's a girl." So I don't know what relevance that has, but anyway, it's Gumby. This was the installation of a new bishop at the Catholic Church. It was in Mandarin. It's the one in Mandarin. And there's no balcony or anything, so I knew I wanted to get a higher angle. So I ran out to my car, got my monopod, and I didn't have a way to fire the camera remotely. So I would set it on an automatic timer, push the button, hoist it up, shoot a picture. I had no idea what I was aiming at. I just kind of guessed and happened to get this guy waving. So sometimes luck is good. This is changing the light bulbs at the Florida Theater. They do it once a year, and these folks get in there and they change every light bulb, regardless of whether it's good or bad. Anybody recognize this bird? Oh, yeah. Who photographed this bird? Nobody? You did? Okay. So, this bird, I came back from vacation 1st of January, walked into the Times Union building, and a reporter comes up, "Hey, did you hear about the snowy owl at Little Talbot Island?" And I said, "That's impossible." I said, "There's no snowy owl. It's a misidentified bird." "Oh, no, Audubon's confirmed it." I went, "Oh, okay." Before I can even get to my desk, another reporter comes up, says, "Hey, did you hear about the snowy owl at Little Talbot? My wife and I went Sunday and got pictures with our cell phones of it." And I went, "Okay, all right." So that threw the gauntlet down, and I grabbed a 600 millimeter lens, and luckily I didn't have an assignment that day, so I said, I'm going to go owl hunting. And they said, "Okay." So was able to get this picture, and then got this picture. So I learned something very valuable from one of the Audubon people, is that the bird is not going to fly until it poops. So if it poops, it may fly, but it's certainly not going to fly until it poops. So if it poops, you better be ready. So I was able to get this picture, and I went back to Little Talbot every day off that I had for 2 weeks. And the problem became, how do I find the owl the next time I go out? So every time I would go out, I would call the ranger station, and they would usually say, "Parking lot 5, get out, walk down the beach," which I did until I found this. When I found this, I knew I had the owl, okay? Yeah, it's a very famous owl. What's that?
When was that?
2014. Early January 2014. It was very cold out there. So this guy gets the MacGyver award, right? He's got his little point and shoot camera through his binoculars, and he's using his daughter as a tripod. So this is why we have kids, right? Love this guy. All right, this was from a helicopter. We were doing a story on the St. Johns River, and I got the assignment because I'm the redneck that likes to go out in the woods and take pictures, which is fine. I think they chose me because I had a boat, but I'll take it. So this was a ship going out the St. Johns River right at the mouth, and the helicopter pilot, this is film, this is in the film days, and I was changing film, and the helicopter pilot said, "Dolphins." And I looked down, and I said, "Get me close." So so it worked out. And this was just, I don't even remember what the assignment was on this. It was just something, I think I was in a high-wing plane at this point, and photographed this, and I don't think this ever ran in the paper, which is a shame. All right, this guy was in the Navy for a long time, retired, and started teaching at this Christian academy over on the west side. And he was great. He guided the buses in every morning, and he was waving at every single person and talking to them, and he wouldn't let them come in unless they smiled. So he was great. This is a Braille conference, I think. And so blind kids from all over the state came, and this little girl's reading Braille, and just the way she's got her head up was just, I don't know if she could actually see the light. I don't know. This is a Jewish wedding. I remember getting my assignment on it, and it said 100 dancing rabbis. And I thought, wow. I don't know if there was actually 100, but there were a lot of dancing rabbis, and they made for some great pictures. A lot of fun. They know how to do a wedding, for sure. Whoa. All right, this is a stunt plane going over the St. Johns River. Tucker, I think. I can't remember his first name. Sean Tucker. But people look at this and say, "How did you get that?" And I said, well, he had a plane, a follow plane that I went up in. The door was off. They strapped me in. A monkey could have shot this picture. But luckily, I was the monkey to get the picture. I mean, he's done this so many times. He knows exactly what to do, exactly how to tilt the plane over. And he's in communication with the pilot of the plane I was in. And so it's good to work with professionals.
Where was that, Will?
It was over downtown. You see the landing and the Main Street Bridge. The river looks really dark, but it is a black water river. So this is campaigning on the cheap. Love it. I mean, I saw these guys and was able to get a picture. This guy is really doing it cheap. Dave, I don't think he got elected though. This is the Alusty battle, and I borrowed a uniform from one of the Confederate units. Years before this, I borrowed a uniform from the Union Army, and but I got with the Confederates this time, and they were funny. They were a lot of fun. The uniform got me in, and when we were in front of people, I had to hide my camera. They gave me a little messenger bag that I could just stick my camera in. I had one camera and a wide angle to telephoto lens. But getting in close is the key. So, and luck in your timing too. So this gentleman lived in Keystone Heights. It was his 100th birthday. And he decided he wanted to have a golf tournament on his 100th birthday. And here he is teeing off. He was quite a character. Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra. They sent me down to Orlando to photograph his concert there because he was coming to Jacksonville.
When was that?
A long time ago. That was black and white film, so I would think maybe 80s or 90s. And Pavarotti, this was in Jacksonville. He performed in Jacksonville. Oh, he can really belt them out. Mikhail Baryshnikov. His dance studio used to come down to White Oak Plantation every year. And we never had access to that until this one time when one of our reporters gained access for me to go up there. And it was kind of cool because they were taking a break and he comes over to me, starts asking me about my camera. So I gave him a little photo lesson. I had film camera back in those days. I think it was an F5, I think. And he was all interested in the F5, and I was, giving him the lowdown on the F5. All right, well, we're always telling stories as a photojournalist. As a photographer, we're always telling stories. But some of the stories deserve more than just one picture. This guy's name is Kent Bell. He was born with no arms and no legs. He was a scorekeeper at UNF for the basketball games, the women's basketball, I think, and some of the men's games. Great guy. I really enjoyed being around him. And it was interesting just to see how he coped with everything. This is his sister helping him out of the wheelchair and his mom. But they would come over, they would get him out of the wheelchair and, visit with him. And then he was able to work his computer and the TV with his pen. And he also had a caretaker that would come in every now and then and help him out too. So here he's getting ready to go out. And he would go out in he wrote a book too. Look, Ma, no hands, no legs either. That's his book. So, got a sense of humor too. This is him outside his apartment building waiting for a bus to come pick him up. And he was going to soccer practice. So he played wheelchair soccer. So yeah, he was quite a character. He passed away about 2 years after these pictures were made. And he used to always talk about, yeah, they said I was going to be dead 10 years ago, something like that. This guy's name is Bowersox. He was a music director at a church, at one of the big churches, I think. And this is a picture of he and his wife. Well, his wife died of cancer, and they had 2 children. I think they may be twins. So it left him sole caretaker of the kids. And his little boy got his hand caught in an automatic door at like in an airplane hangar. I think his dad had an airplane too, or something. And his hand was mangled, so his dad's taking him to he must be the younger brother, but taking him to therapy. And just watching him and just following him around was, I mean, you just got to be there and just wait. And they were great about ignoring the camera. There's nothing more frustrating than you telling somebody, I just want to follow you around, you know, just pretend like I'm not there. And they're going, is this what you want me to do? Is this what you want me to do? Not him, not these people. They just did what they did, which was great. And you can see it, how his hand is, I don't know if he had more surgeries to go or what, but he's, okay. We do sports too in the newspaper business. This is probably one of the first decent sports pictures I ever shot. This was 1982. I was working at the Montgomery Advertiser. We used to call it the Agonizer, but that's a different story. But this was the celebration of the winning touchdown with when Bo Jackson went over the top, scored the winning touchdown, but that wasn't the picture that told the story. This is the picture that told the story. So sometimes the reaction is better than the action. This is Peter Bragan Jr. in the old office he had at Wolfson Park, the old Wolfson Park. And I think we know who this is, Tony Boselli. This was his very first trip to Jacksonville when he got drafted. That's his fiancée at the time, Angie. They have like 5 or 6 kids now. And we didn't know it at the time, but this was one of the rare moments when we had Tom Coughlin smiling. He didn't do that much in later years. All right, this is Will Muschamp's very first game as head coach of the Gators. And they're waiting in the tunnel to come out, and he's trying to calm his players down. His sons are to the right here, and the little guy to the far right is now a backup quarterback for Vanderbilt. Yeah. So I was watching football, and I saw this Muschamp on the back of one of the players, and I said, that's got to be Will Muschamp's kid. And my wife said, oh, probably not. I said, how many Muschamps do you know? Especially that are in football. And I looked it up, and this is Whit Muschamp. Another reaction picture that kind of tells the story. And of course, the story here is we won, and we lost this game. So one picture can tell the story. And this is a Gator Bowl game where Texas Tech fell way behind Virginia and then came back in the second half. They sacked the quarterback. And then the last play of the game, the kicker kicks a field goal to win the game for Texas Tech. So I shot action pictures, but these just came out telling the story better. And another one, this is our Super Bowl. This was the Patriots celebrating a fumble at the end of the game. This is Bowles High School. I think that was with the D1X camera that, remember, it can only go up to 800 ISO. So I would add a little bit of flash, maybe a 16th power flash to kind of help stop the action. And there is the famous coach, Corky. Thank you. His name left my brain. Corky Rogers. Now, this was a game, I think it might have been the Gator Bowl, but it's Wake Forest, and that is Riley Skinner on the left. And I remember I was with like a 70 to 200 lens. Following his scramble, I was in the end zone, and number 35 is just bearing down on him. And I'm following him, and all of a sudden, suddenly, number 35 just disappeared. And I didn't know why until until I saw one. And this is Florida playing in the NCAA tournament. That was down in Tampa. And that guy was a little guy, but boy, he could scoot around those giants. This is high school basketball, Providence high school player. Fierce competitor. And this is just a track meet that I tried slow shutter speed. I kind of like the effect. This is dragon boats. You see the drummer here, and you can see the drummer in the second boat. It's hard to tell it's the second boat, but that was on the St. Johns River. I don't know if we still have that. We do? Okay. That's something you could cover. Timmy Tebow. And I don't know if he was a senior then, but that was when he was in Nice High School. We always used to do the player of the year for different sports. And with football, it was offense and defensive player. And we did all the sports, and it allowed us a chance to do a portrait, a nice portrait of the kids. And he was one of the most polite young men I've ever met. I mean, just a really polite guy.
What was that, a tilt shift?
It was Lynn's baby. Yeah, that's what it was. I borrowed a Lynn's baby. And every picture was Lynn's baby time. it was kind of fun. So this is Tebow getting a lot of attention. And this is Tebow's golf tournament, which we were allowed to photograph for a while until they wouldn't let us. Actually, after this tournament, they wouldn't let us. And he's doing a shoulder bump with his teammate there. And you got to understand, when you do a shoulder bump with Tim Tebow, it can definitely go wrong. So yeah, I felt kind of bad for the guy. But then this is the next picture. I mean, that's Tebow and his brother, just laughing it up like, oh, he'll be all right. Just rub some dirt on it. Love this event, the Kingfish tournament, the junior anglers, and I saw this little girl coming up, and she made that face, and that I knew I could go back and get the pictures out. I would always look for a picture. This is the Suns back in the day, before they were the Shrimp. But I loved a picture that had a great follow-through. Nothing more boring than a picture that just kind of throws it like that. But this guy, boy, he really got into it. And this is a double play. And I always would hang around behind first base to wait for this play. And this is really the only real good picture I ever got doing that. So if the Beatles were golfers, maybe this is how they would come out. But I saw this gallery of wood storks and kind of positioned myself to wait until they got through playing. And so when they walked through, it kind of worked out. I like the stork gallery there. This was a very windy day at the Players years ago. Very windy. And back in those days, we had enough photographers that one of us could just go around looking for feature pictures, and the others would concentrate on the golf part of it. So I planted myself up on the hill on the 18th fairway, knowing that one of the balls is going to blow over because the wind was really strong out of the other direction there. And so sure enough, Bernhard Langer hits one, and it just goes right over these people. No injuries, though. All right, so we do a lot of portraits, too. This young man is sitting in the emergency room where after he had a motorcycle accident, his life was saved in this room here. And I arranged to have a portrait made of him because the reporter shot a cell phone picture that was not very good. So now this old dude has got it going. He's got some cars that he's restored. The way I shot this picture is I enlisted the help of one of our interns, had them drive my car, and I had a hatchback at the time, so I'd open the hatchback and just had them follow us. Slow shutter speed. There's a flash on the dashboard of the camera, I think, to light them up around dusk. And this is a little bit later. I mounted the camera on one of the door there. That's his girlfriend, by the way. You see where his hand is. And that's his son back there. So I had one flash on the dashboard, and then one flash on the boy with the dog. And I was kind of hiding on the floor of the car behind this front seat there. And I was taking the pictures. Probably maybe 2-second exposure. See the lights going by there. But we all had a good time. This is a truck driving school. And I decided to take a portrait of one of the people that we interviewed. And it's just a flash inside the truck. Because he needed that light to show his face. This is Johnny Van Zant's 1955 Chevrolet pickup truck, Leonard Skinner. And his brother, like a couple of years, well, more than that now, probably 5 or 6 years ago, had it remodeled, remade. And I shot this picture in the garage of the Cadillac dealer down in Mandarin. And so I've got the camera on a tripod and a flash that I'm walking around with. And I shot several flash pictures with the camera on the tripod from different angles and layered it all together. And sometimes you can do that and you're in the picture, but you just don't use that part of the picture. You paint in where you're not. So, and this is the first time I ever tried this. And I went, whoa, I'm going to have to do this again sometime. But I've never done it again, so we'll see. This is a farrier, horseshoes, makes shoes for horses. This is one of the first portraits I did with the D1X with my big lighting gear. And I soon ditched the big lighting gear for smaller lighting gear. And this is a cobbler who makes people shoes or repairs people shoes. I think we did this series for Labor Day, I think. This gentleman here was the inventor of the Shuffle Bowl 300. It's a game here that you do shuffleboard and bowling, and the people around him are the people who make these things by hand, and all the tools that they've got are from 50 to 100 years ago. Really, really old, but very precise tools. And it is some of the most beautiful woodwork you've ever seen. And it's not cheap, but what's that?
Was that here?
Yeah, it was here in Jacksonville. This was that old warehouse off of the Matthews Bridge that I think they're doing apartments now. But it used to be a lot of different businesses, and they were up in the bowels of that warehouse.
Union Terminal.
What's that?
Union Terminal warehouse.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. I like to hide flashes, especially in lockers, to take portraits of people. 2 flashes here, one in the locker, one off to the side. Get the flash in that one. And this is a player, player of the year type thing. Another player of the year out at Fletcher High School, and I was always attracted to the block wall, the glass block wall there. It always made a good backdrop. This is a sculpture teacher at JU, making something in his studio. I think he's just cutting a piece of metal for me. But he makes big boots. And that boot is made out of metal. I don't know how he even got it in his apartment. So I don't know if he ever sold it or not. This is the bartender at the Palace Saloon in Fernandina Beach. He was also the mayor. So he would do city business as he was tending bar. He helped some guy, he said, and wrote down, the guy came in, said he was having trouble getting something done at the courthouse. And so he wrote something on a napkin and gave it to him. And he says, "What is this?" And he says, "Oh, I'm the mayor. This is the number you call. This is the guy you need to see." So shell collector. Little portrait. This is the tick professor at UNF, showing one of his ticks. I think that's a Lone Star tick, one of the bad kind. This was an Afghan national that had helped the U.S. in Afghanistan, and he was settling in here, and he was in his apartment, very proud. He put his medals on for me, so I could take his picture. And I'm kind of backed up in a corner, and had to have him bring his head up into the light. But this is one of my favorite portraits. And he had his flag there, and I think that's the Virgin Mary back there. But this is a dairy farmer who had to close his farm down. And I was looking for a place to shoot his portrait and look back, and there he is just standing there, and I shot that picture. He never even knew I'd shot the picture, but it came out. This was a World War II veteran that was in some Filipino service. I'm not sure what. But this is outside. The flag is lit by the sun coming in, and I've had a little umbrella that I lit him with. This guy was on one of the Perry explorations of the South Pole, and that's him when he was 19, when he went on the expedition, one of the last expeditions that Perry did. This was a creature that was caught in the St. Johns River. A friend of mine who is a fisherman, a commercial fisherman, called me and said, "Hey, I got this creature." And I said, "Okay, tell me when to be there." So I went to his house. He had it in like an aquarium. And the thing was probably this long. I mean, it was big. And they think it's like a tiger prawn, I think they called it. Basically a giant shrimp. So I needed more than just this one picture to tell the story. So he gave me the number of the fisherman that caught it. And so I met him out on the dock one morning at sunrise. I was able to get a nice portrait of him on his crab boat. Caught it on a crab trap. This is state champion winners of football and the coach. It's a mean-looking bunch. In the graveyard. This is a baseball player. This is when I first learned to use high-speed sync with flash. And I've been using that ever since. I love that. This is Cole Pepper. radio, TV sportscaster at his barbecue place. He doesn't have it anymore, but yeah, we had fun taking that portrait. And I don't remember his name, but he was in charge of the program for
Milton something.
yeah, FSCJ. But the way I did this is I had an umbrella over here to the left of him, and I went outside the building and had one flash shooting through the blinds coming in like it's sunlight. That's flash. That's not sunlight. So it worked out pretty well. And this same kind of lighting. This is a rock musician that we were doing a story on, taking a break outside. This is downtown at some bar.
Will,
Yes, ma'am.
the gentleman that was on the inside, he didn't have any line stripes across his face, and this guy does.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, so.
Well, the only thing lighting him is the light coming through the blinds. So this gentleman is actually being lit more by the light that's inside.
Okay.
And you may be able to see, I don't know if you can see any stripes coming in from there. I'm not sure why it's not showing up there.
Oh, I think it looks good. It makes him really stand out.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very patient. It's a lot of times you have to find people that are patient. Some people aren't patient enough to do that. So you just got to shoot a down and dirty quick picture. Now this lady was photographed. She was beat up by a kid, a neighbor, who broke into her house and for some reason just beat her up. So I came up with this idea, and she was all, she wanted to have her picture made and everything. But I think it really tells the story about what she went through with this. These folks, their son was a park ranger in Alaska many years ago. And he went missing. He had been on an airplane flying over Alaska, and he went missing. And they didn't find him for like 2 years. And I asked them if they would mind posing in his bedroom. And that's his uniform back there on the bed. And they said, yes, we'll do it. I photographed them in the room. And as I was leaving, he said, that was the first time we've been in his room since he went missing. And I went, wow. If they had told me that, I would have just done something else. But I did it because they agreed to it. And I think it makes a real powerful picture when you know the story. Somebody have a question? No? Yes, sir.
All you do is photograph the right side of each face. If I take a picture, the left one will be the whole, you know what I'm saying, the light. How do you do that?
Well, I think I had, I can't remember if I had that bound. I think I had an umbrella. Or maybe I think it was I had a little soft box that had egg crate on it to focus the light on them and keep it off the walls around there. That must be what I had there. And because I wanted some dramatic light. When I want dramatic light, I use something with like an egg crate on it, and I've got little filters, not filters, but little attachments that go on my strobes, my small strobes that have the egg crate too. So it's all about what you're trying to do. And this is just natural light. This is Hope McMath, I think. She's getting a gallery, her gallery ready for a show. And that's not posed, that's just her, looking at the gallery. Father-son cops at the shooting range. They look alike, don't they? This is for Father's Day, I think, and it was just starting to rain. So I had to shoot real quick. This is Jackson DeVille. Curtis Dvorak played Jackson DeVille for many, many, many years. And he refused to have his picture made that outside the costume. He didn't want the costume. He didn't want to do this picture. He didn't want to have the costume in there. I said, but we need it visually to tie you to what you did for so many years for the Jaguars. And I said, and Curtis, this is the last chance we'll get to do this picture because you're retiring. And so he finally relented, and he allowed the new guy to come in and be in the background there. But sometimes you just got to sweet talk people. All right, illustrations. It's a retired military who went into business, studio portrait. A young couple, the game of life. So I don't remember exactly what I did with that. But anyway, this is a story about the land boom in St. Johns County. So I found a bunch of wagons online and put all this together. It took a few days to put it together. Cabbage Patch Kids, right? You remember when they were big? I found a nice Cabbage Patch at the agriculture center here. Oh, the kid on the left there, that's a breech birth. So, yeah. Kids learning how to drive. Now, these are good friends of ours that go to church. And I photographed the father and the son first. And then I added the little guy running in the mirror. And in the window behind them was blank. I needed something, so I called his wife up and said, I need to get a quick picture of you. And she said, okay. I said, okay, do this. And she did. And put it all together. And yeah, you can have fun with that. This is my son. My son is overseas now. We don't know where, but he's deployed overseas. He's in the probably Middle East, I think, but he does intelligence for the Army, and he can't tell us where he is or what he's doing. But yeah, he's doing well though, doing well. And this was Water Warriors that we did for the summer edition of the summer toys for the Times Union. And the whole family got involved in this. His granddad is holding the flash here, and I think that's my wife's hand there on the far right. You can see a little bit of her fingers. And granddad is behind spraying the water. Or no, grandmother is spraying the water. So the whole family got involved with that. And this is the guy that bought the house up in, is it Cleveland? I think Cleveland, yeah. Yeah, and he was living in Jacksonville for a while. He brought his leg lamp in, and the picture's lit by the leg lamp. Well, and a blue gel in the background. So this was an illustration for the Jazz Festival, and I took a picture of the crowd from the Jazz Festival, made a print about this big for it, curved it around, and lit it so that it reflected into the bell of the trumpet. This was shot in the studio. So try to get a little life into that picture. This was an illustration about liquor companies sponsoring race cars. So I kind of had fun with that. Remember these guys? Yeah, this was put together shot in the studio, put together, put a background from the stadium in there and added some smoke and So I think our team's a little better now, though. Okay, we're getting close, folks. 2020, they closed the beach. Can you believe they closed the beach? But they did. And here's the police running the people off the beach the last day the beach is open. And they just kept going until they got every single person off the beach. So Bob Self and I were the only two photographers left at the paper at this time. And the only thing, we worked every day, but there was nothing to photograph because we couldn't photograph people. Reporters could talk to people on the phone, but we couldn't make personal contact with them to photograph them. So we would just drive around looking for anything to photograph. And I hit the jackpot with these folks. This was like the day after they closed the beaches. And so they just made their own little water scene there. They were having a good time. So we could shoot things like this, testing and all. And drive-in churches would pop up. This was out near the beach here. And this is a prayer circle, medical workers at Baptist. The day they opened the beach. These guys were happy. And this was a little parade that the fire department and the police and all paraded by the hospital in Fernandina Beach. And so the workers in the hospital, lined the sidewalk to show their appreciation. And it's kind of a mutual admiration parade there. And then the Blue Angels came by and flew over, and that was cool. That was really neat. And then we had the Summer of Love, the Black Lives Matter riots, and people praying, and these were all medical workers. And this is cleaning the red paint off of Andrew Jackson. And they still had school at UNF, but there was a lot of regulations, a lot of rules. And Trump still had his rally. Not many people wearing masks out there. And you can see Kamala just took her mask off. So you see it in her hand. So she was still campaigning. And this was election night. This was on one side of the street. And this is on the other side of the same street. And this was a little rally for Black Lives Matter in front of the courthouse. And they're actually wearing masks. And this is in front of the police station. They were kneeling for 9 minutes, and boy, it was hard for some of these folks to get back up again.
What was the occasion?
Excuse me?
What was the occasion? Why were they kneeling?
I think they were kneeling for the amount of time that George Floyd died in, or something like that. I don't know. So, but they were kneeling a long time. This is the rally that they had. not sure what kind of rally this is. I kind of get them confused. This might have been an anti-Black Lives Matter rally. I don't know. Hard to keep up. All right, that's all, folks. And one of the photographers at the game started shooting my picture, and I'm going, why are you shooting my picture? Well, it was the Times Union logo was up there, so. War Eagle, there you go. All right, well, thank y'all very much. Enjoyed it.